Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the You-est podcast. I'm Julie Riesler. I am so grateful to be your host. Today is a dream for me. I have one of my most favorite ladies on the planet. You are in for a freaking treat. You're going to get to hear from the one and only Marie Forleo. I want to give you a little background on Marie because I could go on and on, but I'd like to give you her real, kind of her background, where she comes from. Marie was named by Oprah as a thought leader for the next generation and one of Inc.'s 500 fastest growing companies. Marie's mission is to help you build a life you love and use your gifts to change the world. I love that. She's the creator of the award-winning online show MarieTV with over 34 million views on YouTube with an audience in 195 countries. Woo. She's the founder of B School, an online business school for modern entrepreneurs through her Change Your Life, Change the World initiative. Every product purchase helps support a person in need. Amazing. So I love this lady in part because of your brilliance, your badassery, your authenticity, your humility, your humor. I love that you are a unshakable optimist, is what you call yourself, and it's true. I've been watching you on MarieTV for the last 6 years, and frankly, I think you are adding so much love and value to the planet. It's just beyond an honor to have you here. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Julie. That was awesome. It's such a pleasure to be with you today.
Well, I am so grateful. And it's funny, I started this podcast. It's called the You-est, and I'm really obsessed with this idea that, we're all here for a reason. We're here for a sacred purpose. And, that to go through life, to me, it would be a shame to not live into that. And I know that's something you stand for. I am wondering, what is the You-est? What does that mean to you?
So I think it's probably something that will always evolve. Early on in our journeys, most of us, unless you were kind of blessed, right? My man, Josh, knew since he was a baby, very young, that he wanted to be an actor. Like, he was very, very clear on that. I was not so blessed. There are many people in this world who are like, they know they want to be a writer. They know they want to be a whatever. But many of us, and I'd say the vast majority, go through our teens and our early 20s and maybe even our 30s and 40s and sometimes into our 50s and 60s and don't quite feel like we understand our place in this world. I don't think our educational system as it's set up right now gears us to understand that each of us has a very unique set of gifts, that we are a once in a lifetime mega event in the universe, that no one ever has or ever will have the exact combination of skills and talents and perspectives that each of us have individually. And so it really is our job to unearth those things, to explore them, to strengthen them, and then ultimately to give them and share them to others. So in terms of what does the You-est mean? It means having the courage to express what's in your heart, especially when and if you feel a little weird for doing it. I remember as a young child, when people would ask me, Marie, what do you want to be when you grow up? And even when I had some of those little journals that some of our moms kept for us, where you kind of record the grade that you're in and your teacher, and again, your aspirations for the future. Every time it would come up to that section of what do you want to be when you grow up, I always had like 10 things. There were always 10 things. I could never pick one. And that really followed me into my teens and 20s and into the early part of my career, because every time I would try and pick one thing to do, I felt like I was cutting off a limb. And so for me, this idea of the You-est means pushing up against the societal definitions of what it means to have a successful life, what that looks like, especially as it relates to how you express yourself in your career. I think our current system, to a large degree, is kind of a relic of the industrial age, where they wanted everyone to specialize and you had to be a cog in a wheel, right? And you had to pick one thing to do and punch in and punch out. And that's just an outdated model. And for many of us, it's just not who we are. It's not part of our DNA. And so this idea of the You-est, I think it's having the courage to be able to admit to yourself what you really love, what you're really interested in, what breaks your heart about the world, what gets you excited about the world, and then finding ways to express and engage in that. Not all of those things may come to life through how you earn a living, and that's okay. They don't have to. But I think it is important that we give ourselves license to explore all of the things that light our heart up and to find ways to bring them into our living, if it's on a daily basis or a weekly basis or on a monthly basis, but to somehow engage with them because they're clues. They're clues to who we really are and what we really have to offer.
Wow. That's so beautiful. And one of the things about you that I know that really has spoken to me is, I remember you talked about being a multi-passionate entrepreneur, a multi-passionate person. And, you sharing, your dance and your humor. And I know you have like a whole toolbox of things that you love and who makes you that, it's helped give me permission. I feel like I'm also like, I paint quotes on doors and I teach ballet, and I also love to be like silly. And then I love doing my coaching. Like there's so many things, and the way that you've threaded that through and really said to have the courage is what you said. I love that. It's giving permission.
Yeah. And I think it's also for many of us, especially it was true for me, not to cut you off, but I had to have the courage to like be and let myself do many things at once. And I always tell this when I talk about someone being multi-passionate.
Yeah.
I consciously knew that I wasn't going to earn as much money, that I was going to go slower than if I was focusing on one thing, that I was going to accept some quote unquote apparent negatives. But the benefit for me was being able to fully live my life and to fully explore and experiment and engage in different things. And in my experience, and this was my journey, it's not true for everyone, but I had been spinning a bunch of plates. I was bartending, I was waiting tables. Sometimes I'd clean people's toilets if I needed extra money. I lived in New York City, which is a very expensive place to live.
Yeah.
I had my coaching practice. I was teaching dance. I was a Nike athlete. I was doing a bunch of different things. And then after about 6 or 7 years, roughly, I reached a conversion point where my intuition and my heart was like, now you are ready to focus in on one of these things. So I left dance and I left fitness and I left a bunch of things in terms of the revenue generation. So I no longer made money from those, but I still built them into my life. And I dance every single day. I dance every chance I can get. So
I love it.
I'm interested in are the things, even like bartending, bring me to a party or even not to a restaurant. If I have one too many tequilas, I run behind the bar and I'm just like, why don't you move over? Because I know how to make it better than you do, which is not, sometimes it's welcome and sometimes it's not. But my point is you don't have to monetize all of your passions. You can be multi-passionate, but I think that permission to give yourself an opportunity to explore things is really what many of us need.
So beautiful. It's very powerful. And I'm curious. So when you started to realize what would be just for fun, shaking your butt every morning, dancing, incorporating, I know one of the things that I've watched MarieTV, I've done your copy cure. I will say with B School, that has really, that gave me the confidence and courage. I left my day job, my cushy day job to follow my passion. And it's the best decision I've ever made, ever.
Bless you. I love that.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I used to watch you during lunch. I felt like Shawshank Redemption. I would shut the door. I have a friend who'd come in and we would watch MarieTV on Tuesdays, seriously, during lunch. And I would work on my website, very bootstrap, like scrappy. And I would watch you every session, every Tuesday. And finally, 2 years later, I was like, it's time to step into who I'm here to be. And you really talk about that. And then finally, as I started, I'm like, I need some help. And I got into B School and it was a game changer. I'm just curious, maybe just talk a little bit how you went from the vision of it to this incredible movement, what you've created.
Yes. So what a lot of people don't know, when I started my business at the ripe old age of 23, right? And I was terribly insecure. Everything in the rational mind was like, who the hell do you think you are? Like, who's going to hire a 23-year-old life coach? This is crazy. This is stupid. This is nuts. Like all of that self-talk. But something in my heart said, no, this is part of your path. You need to pursue this. And I understood from my coach training program, which was Coach University, one of the best things they did, greatest gift they gave me, was in addition to understanding how to work with people and how to support them as a coach, right? As a life coach, you also have to understand how to run a business. The business of coaching is absolutely as vital as the coaching itself. They go hand in hand, because if you can't attract and convert clients, you ain't got nobody to coach. So understanding that, I made it my mission simultaneously to become the best life coach I could be, but also I had to train myself in marketing and business because, again, they don't typically teach entrepreneurship in school, and I didn't learn that. My dad was a small business owner, but it was very blue collar. He ran a printing business, right? So the online world was very, very different. So basically, what I did is I started training. I started studying copywriting. I went to every business conference I could possibly go to. I did everything that I could to really try and become a business owner because I knew that was necessary for success. So I started using these skills that I was gaining to fill up my hip hop workshops, to gain coaching clients. I worked on a book. My first book I actually self-published. And so essentially what happened was, from doing all of this marketing work behind the scenes to make my life work, what I started hearing from, at that time, every woman I encountered, because you have to understand, most of the people that took my classes in terms of dance and fitness were women. A lot of my bar customers, I mean, they were men and women, but most often women would be like, so tell me, what else do you do? And I would tell them about my life coaching practice. I would ask them to sign up for my newsletter list on a yellow legal pad. And then when I would go out and train with Nike, a lot of the trainers that I would train were also female. And they're like, how are you doing this? And I would say, because I understand marketing. And that's when the light bulb went off. You know, I went to one business conference after the other. And again, there was men on every stage. And I love men. However, it's very, very unbalanced in terms of representation, right? And the way that they would talk about customers was as though they were nothing more than numbers on the bottom of your balance sheet. And that would make my heart sick. It was always like, how can you extract as much profit as possible from all the traffic that you get? And, you know, there's like lightning bolts and highlighters. And I was like, A, this is disgusting. B, there's no aesthetic. C, I don't feel like there's any heart or integrity around this. There's no humor. There's no fun. And I know that marketing and sales is vital for a business's success, but I hated the way that it was being taught. And I felt like there was such a lack there. So I had also been doing group coaching programs, but they were all around personal development. It was all around the life coaching work and the stuff that made such a difference for me. I remember, Julie, the first time that I actually talked about marketing in a public way in an online group coaching program, this is pre-B school, I was sick to my stomach. I was so nervous. I felt like such a fraud because I had just been doing that work behind the scenes, but I'm like, no one's going to pay attention to me. I don't have an MBA. What right do I have to talk about marketing? Again, even though I was using it, even though I was the practitioner, even though I was using it successfully to actually get results, I still felt like a fraud. Right. So I decided, I said, you know what, this is the kind of information that when I was first starting my business, I wish someone would have told me because I'd wasted a lot of money, went down a lot of rabbit holes, and there were just these gaps that I felt like I had an opportunity to fill. And I said, you know, if I wished that there was some school out there that was aligned with my values, that focused on making a difference, not just for my bottom line, but for my customers and the greater world at large, I would have signed up. If somebody would have made it beautiful and fun and easy and a safe space for me to not feel like I was less than because I don't have a business degree or because I don't have a lot of money, and they would have not, you know, made me feel dumb for asking questions, I would have loved that space. So that's why I created it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, there are like 5 million things I could go into. First of all, I really relate to that, going to a lot of conferences where it felt nothing wrong with man and masculine, but I was like, you know, that's one of the things I love about you and what you do is it's aesthetically beautiful, but there's this space. You created this like delicious, nourishing space where you can ask anything, where you can be who you are, whatever that looks like. And there's support. I just feel this authenticity, support, genuine, kind, people that are really out to do their purpose. And and
it's an inclusive place. I mean, we have men in B school and they love it. In fact, I was just responding to someone very recently and he's like, she was asking me, can I tell my dad to take B school? And, you know, she's in Mexico. Her dad runs an insurance company in Mexico. And she's like, do you think my dad could take B school? I was like, if your dad likes our values, I was like, our content isn't gender specific. And all of our people, yes, they're mostly women, but we have a whole crew of men and they love it. They're happy to be in this space that is inclusive and focused on values and celebration. They've kind of never witnessed anything like it before in their life, where people are just like, yes, like we're making
money. Awesome.
on the numbers, and we also care about our families and our employees and how our companies are impacting the greater world and our communities around us. So yes, to your point.
Amazing. I know we're going to have to wrap it up. I have one last question for you.
All right.
What inspires you most, Marie? When you get out of bed, when you think about B-School and what you're here to create, what inspires you the most?
There's a couple things. I can't really nail it down to one, but I'll tell you a few things that really make my heart light up. It's when I hear stories like what you just told me, that transition from I was in a job that didn't really align with my soul's purpose. And I knew that that wasn't where I was supposed to be. And to know that you have made that transition, that you guys went to a room and you closed the door and you worked on it tiny, and then you made that leap and you created an entirely new experience for yourself, Julie, that inspires me. When I get stories in from folks who were kind of near the poverty line, some of them have been homeless, and somehow they've come across our materials and they've done their work and they've found a way to start making shifts and making changes, and they completely change their financial destiny. And I'll tell you, it especially fires me up when it's women. I grew up in a family that didn't have a lot of money, and my mom grew up in poverty, and my parents are just like, they don't even know where I came from. But I understand that pain of scarcity and lack. And when I look out into the greater world and we understand the research right now, this is very, very clear. When women are financially empowered, everybody wins. Everybody, politically, economically, geographically, there's more peace, there's more education. All of the things that I think every single human wants happens when we empower women. And so I feel especially uniquely qualified, and I have this incredible opportunity to reach, again, particularly women, although it's not gender specific, but I get fired up, and what gets me inspired is to see women change their financial destiny, their financial destiny, their time destiny, their hearts open up, because women are some of the most generous creatures on the planet. Usually when they're winning, it's not just about them. It's about their families. It's about their communities. It's about them looking out into the world and finding pain points and saying, well, what can I do to help heal this? And so those are the kind of things. If I can just be a tiny catalyst and to help someone connect the dots and to help them see possibilities that perhaps they weren't able to see before, that's what gets me up in the morning.
Wow. You are certainly, I'm like, well, I have no words to say because I'm about to cry, because you've changed my life. And anyone that's tuning in, what I love about you is you're so real. And I'm like, I know your story about the Tropicana alarm. Like, I feel like I know you over these years, but you really live your walk, and you are just such a light in this world, honestly. And I really think of it as a candle. When you light, you don't lose your light when you light other candles. You're lighting the world.
That's right.
You're lighting the world.
There's more than enough to go around. And I think that's another message that all of us need to hear. Just because you see someone out there doing something like what you want to do, don't let that voice in your head say, no, there's no room for me. They've already done it. They've done exactly what I want. It's like, that's total BS. There is more than enough room for everyone. We need as many loving, bright, conscious, value-driven, generous, open-hearted people as possible out here. So we need your voice too. We need a chorus and a symphony.
Amen to that.
Yes.
Namaste. Oh my gosh.
Namaste, Mama. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh. Thank you.